But we begin with Alicia Acuna, live outside the home where Nancy was taken. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Brian. And as we head into day 5 since Nancy Guthrie was last seen, law enforcement continues to say there is still no credible information to indicate that this was a targeted incident, and they have not yet given details on what led investigators to return to Nancy Guthrie's home late in the day on Wednesday. Federal and local authorities came back to the scene, which they had previously cleared, to cordon it off with police tape while they searched the property once again. Agents could be seen tracing the back of the home and also the garage. Before their arrival, the Pima County Sheriff's Department released a statement saying detectives did have follow-up work to do. Law enforcement was also seen at Savannah Guthrie's sister Annie's house. The family is believed to be gathered there. It's possible agents assisted the Guthrie children in making that video that they released last night. NBC News reports sources tell them Guthrie's pacemaker appeared to be disconnected from its monitoring app early in the morning on Sunday. The Sheriff's Department in a statement on Tuesday saying, "We have not released specific timeframes related to this device. As previously stated, investigators are working to review any available data that may assist in this investigation." The Sheriff's Department is also attempting to knock down rumors and reports that they have identified a potential suspect. The department says that's not true, adding unverified accusations or false information is irresponsible and does not assist the investigation, reiterating they do not have a suspect or person of interest. And last night, hundreds of people gathered for a candlelight vigil at a local church to offer prayers and support for Nancy's family and her safe return. The FBI Director Kash Patel is expected to arrive in Tucson, Arizona at some time to assist in this, or rather lead this investigation. We're also expecting a news conference later this afternoon for an update on the investigation. Back to all of you.
Okay, thank you, Alicia.
Thanks, Alicia.
Let's bring in Paul Mauro, Fox News contributor, retired NYPD inspector. Paul, we were just talking, saying, any chance she had a car there? Is her car missing? Do we know maybe how she ended up leaving the house?
Well, we don't know that now, and that information has not been released to my knowledge, whether or not she had a car. But that said, we know that she wasn't very ambulatory and that she couldn't walk very far. So even were she to have had a car, you have to assume she would need help to do shopping, to get herself in and out of, let's say, a doctor's office, things like that. So it does argue that there was probably a good amount of help that she was getting in and out of her house. And that certainly is going to be a pinch point that the detectives are going to be focusing on as they try to figure out who was familiar enough with the house to do what they did, stay out of sight of the cameras, remove the cameras, and potentially, as you say, maybe avoid leaving, let's say, footprints or tire tracks, because almost certainly a car was involved here. And if you can get fresh tracks off of tires, which, you know, this is not New York City where it's all asphalt. You have sort of desert dust here, so to speak, and you could probably get very good tracks. So in that case, you could try to narrow down at least the size of the car. Was it a truck? Because the vehicle, I think, here is going to be a potentially important thing if they can narrow it down.
But, Paul, what about the breaking news, though, about them removing the monitoring device, the pacemaker, from the app? So you got a better timeline now that investigators can work with, because the person that removed the device is probably the person that's responsible for this. But it also tells us that they didn't want her tracked, which means that she may be alive.
Right. I mean, I would agree with that, and that certainly seems to be first blush. We don't know how much the person knew about her medical condition, et cetera, but if the reporting is accurate, what it does do is it gives you a really pretty close estimation of when she was removed from the home, leaving the phone there. My understanding is the way it works is the following. The pacemaker emits a low-energy signal that connects to either your watch or the phone. And once you are out of range of that, it's not connecting anymore. The pacemaker itself doesn't have the energy to connect, let's say, to a cell tower. So once you're out of range of the phone or the watch, which are interconnected in the Apple system, then you're not going to get that signal anymore. Now, let's be clear. That doesn't mean the pacemaker stops working.
Right.
It continues to work. It just doesn't signal to the phone. And so as a result, you can't track it.
So, Paul, if I put you in that press conference today, knowing what you know and with the experience that you have, what question could you ask that would get an answer?
Well, the first thing I would ask is what's the status on the cameras? Because they've already said that it didn't feed, the cameras that she had did not feed up to a cloud. Fair enough. But where did they feed to? Are the cameras themselves missing? I'd also like to know what is the indications of when the cameras were taken? Can they track when the cameras were removed? Does it look like there's weathering after the cameras were removed, which would argue that maybe the cameras were removed a week ago? So who was there a week ago? I'd also like to know a lot about the digital forensic footprint. Let's assume that the perp did not, or a series of perps, because it could be more than one. History shows usually it's more than one, because you need other people, not for the extraction here, not for the horrible abduction, but to handle the logistics of secreting her someplace. Again, historic examples show you need more than one person. Somebody has to watch her, somebody goes, gets food, and you have to communicate. At some point, they're going to want to communicate. Well, you're not going to pick up your phone and communicate right from where you are. I'm sure they have all kinds of things they're trying to work through. Why TMZ? That doesn't really pan for me. Why not the network she works for? It suggests a certain level of amateurism. And as I said, the digital forensics. Let's assume they didn't have a phone and it didn't hit the cell tower in that location. What about previously? Did she have social media? Could it be that they're aware of some of the details of her life from just watching her online? Or did Savannah Guthrie put out stuff online innocently as part of her celebrity, essentially, that they were able to glean details from? So I would be digging very hard at all of those digital footprints going backwards to see if there's a repeat person in any of this thing as a commonality, considering the idea that there may have been some surveillance, recon, planning, that kind of thing.
Paul, thank you so much. A lot happening behind the scenes. I'm sure they're interviewing everybody who works for the family, who comes in and out of, goes in and out of the house.
When you hear about the app being removed, the device removed from the nexus of people shrinks because they had to know about it and know how to get in it. So you're dealing with this is great for investigators in checking people out.
Yeah, John Roberts just wrote me, as Paul Mauro kind of answered in real time. When you move away from your phone, it doesn't mean you shut off the pacemaker, and it doesn't mean you shut off the connection. It just so happens if you separate the two, they'll disconnect. Right. So it might have been unintentional, the disconnection. It doesn't mean they actually knew she had a pacemaker.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I see. So she just was so far away from her phone.
Yeah, it would automatically
that it automatically disconnected. So that person might not know.
Yep.
We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us.
So Savannah Guthrie and her siblings addressing their mother's kidnapper directly, pleading for proof of life amid reports of a possible ransom note. Let's bring in Abel Pena, a director of Project Absentis and a retired FBI special agent with extensive experience in kidnapping. Special agent, thanks so much for joining the program. Abel, take me to the breaking news of the pacemaker and the loss of connection. What can we learn, law enforcement learn from that?
Well, simply that the pacemaker, it's not a beacon or a tracking device. Okay, that's the short answer. It doesn't help law enforcement. Now, the good news is it's like a Bluetooth device. It does emit a signal. It's for the Apple Watch that she has. But the pacemaker continues to work. It continues to run. So there's no issues there. But unfortunately, it doesn't cause any. The signal that's out there doesn't put out there. There's no issue of triangulation. They can't triangulate. They can't. It's no continuous signal that police can broadcast or anything like that. So it's good that she's got the pacemaker. It's operational. But unfortunately for law enforcement, it doesn't serve as any kind of tracking device at all.
Do you think this helps in any way of lowering or limiting the pool of people that you're now investigating?
I think that's a good question. I think what law enforcement is probably doing is they're going back. I know they went back to the house to, perhaps there was new evidence that they uncovered. They went back there, they looked at they may have re-canvassed, re-interviewed. Maybe there were some inconsistent statements that were out there that they had to clear up. It's routine especially when new evidence surfaces, and sometimes the case takes a different direction. And so they have to go back and re-interview and just kind of nail down those statements. So that way that the timeline, they can fit the timeline in and really just determine exactly when Ms. Guthrie disappeared.
Abel, can you speak to the statement that was crafted by the family yesterday, and then finally speaking directly to what they believe, and I think the Bureau suspects maybe a hostage situation, and the words they use there?
Well, I think it's very important because the FBI, we have the Behavioral Analysis Unit, we have the Crisis Negotiation Unit, and those units are very important because what they do is they help the families craft the statement that they put out, and they have to be very carefully worded, not to incite any problems with the abductor. And what they're trying to do is carefully craft it where there's perhaps less emotion and more direction. Now, again, the abductor kind of has the upper hand. He's conveyed the note. From what I understand, it was a message sent to TMZ and to a local station out there. But I think it's very important that the family stay connected. What's also important is that the law enforcement is going to direct them not to take matters in their own hands, not to meet with anybody, because there are a lot of scams going on. There could be a hoax. So that's very important that the family stay connected with law enforcement, that they continue to engage them and be directed by what law enforcement tells them to do. And again, they cannot take any unilateral action to meet with anybody, to pay anybody out. Again, it's just the cooperation between law enforcement and the family at this point.
And as you know all too well, Abel, in these situations, when time is happening, it's when family rightfully start to get frustrated when they don't have all the answers. That's why it's so critical to stay in contact. And I know Sam Vanna has been working with law enforcement for years and knows this process all too well, but it's different when you're a victim. Abel Pena, thanks so much for joining the program this morning.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.